It is so fun to go on mission trips with your kids. And I count it a privilege to be able to do this. And I acknowledge that it really is the Lord that has worked in my kids' hearts to get them to the point where they would even want to do something like that. And that's something that the Spirit has to light the fire, light in their hearts, and really light the fire to what you've laid down as an educator and as a mom in their lives to give them that desire to want to do that. But I do believe that as a mom, we have a role to play, and as Christian educators, we can smooth a highway for them. We can smooth a path for them to want to be on mission with God. So I just want to share with you a couple of the things that I did that really I feel like helped to bear fruit in my kids' lives. Recently, I took 3 of my children to Brazil, to the Amazon, to 00, and had a wonderful time with the Brazilians in Belém and in Macapa, as well as in December, we traveled to Rio and up into Volta Redonda, 4 hours from there. And what a wonderful time we had. I love you guys. Wave out to the Brazilians. So how did this happen? What happened within their hearts? Well, I have to tell you a secret. Like, I was working on this for a long time with them. When my kids were in 1st or 2nd grade, I invested in some curriculum from Youth with a Mission. They happened to have some books about missionaries that were designed for 4th to 5th graders, kind of like little biographies. And along with that, they had little picture books. And so what I did with my older 2 girls is I had Abigail, my older daughter, reading through about the same person as my younger daughter, Bethan. She was reading picture books about them. And so instead of doing a typical 4th grade history year with my daughter, Abby, instead, I picked out a whole year's worth of Youth with a Mission biography books about missionaries who traveled all over the world. And so in this way, the way I thought about it was, this is giving them more like world history because they're learning about all these different cultures and lands. But it's also giving them Christian history, and it's also giving them a revelation. What is a purpose? How can a Christian's life look? What does it look like? So we studied George Mueller, for example, and his houses that he built for the orphans during industrialization in England, in Bristol, and just what he accomplished, how he trusted God to provide every step of the way, and those kind of books. So they learn about England, and they learn about, similar to if you're reading Charles Dickens' time period, but it's from a Christian perspective, getting all these stories of faith and just the adventure of living with God. And so 4th grade, we did that, and that was history. And then when they got older, we had them, Youth with a Mission also had books about different missionary stories, like Brushko or Cell 59, I believe it's called, about a missionary who was imprisoned in Iran. And so there's like international adventures, I believe is what it was called. So like in middle school, those themes were a little bit harder because there was a lot of suffering that Christians, they've gone through. Or reading through a history of missions was something that I thought was valuable later on. And so building upon the earlier knowledge, that's one thing within the curriculum that I did to give them a heart for missions. And as Christian educators, I think that's really important we cannot just copy the world. We have a different purpose for our kids. We have a different goals of education. And our goal is to prepare them for their mission, which is the Great Commission in Matthew, that we're all called to do as Christians, and that is to disciple the nations. So we do want to include these types of books, and it's great. For literature, any biography of a Christian missionary can be included as part of your literature or your English credit for a middle school or for high school. So we did that, but we didn't just read about it. We really tried to live it. And in one way we did that when my kids were younger is we were part of a program called Safe Families for Children in Illinois. And at that time, that program was just beginning, and it was filling in that gap for families in crisis who were having, either the mother was homeless or hospitalized, and these families did not have support, and as a result oftentimes would lose their kids to the foster care system because they didn't have an auntie or a cousin or someone to take their kids when they were in crisis mode. So over the years, as soon as I weaned my second daughter, we began periodically taking in children. And my kids were a part of that because they helped take care of those babies, and they sacrificed for the babies that we had in our home over the years. Their eyes were also open to the needs of the world, to the fact that homelessness exists, to the fact that, the type of, dysfunction that are in our families these days that allow there to be such difficult situations. And I think that opened them up really to the needs of the world, got them outside of their own selves in a way that prepared them for missions later. We were doing really inner city missions. But we were just a family living where we were living, doing what we saw needed to be done, filling the needs within our community. And we found that because we lived in proximity, really we lived in a bad neighborhood, we lived in proximity to where these moms lived, that was really valuable to them. They could visit their kids even in crisis and still have the help that they needed to get on their feet again. So just doing ministry as a family, as well as mentoring couples. My kids would clean the house knowing that mom and dad are going to be having a couple over and doing couple counseling with them, couple mentoring with them. They were part of that. We brought them into that, and we said, hey, this is our family vision. We want to be helping people. And that, I think, planted a seed in their heart. And, those seeds planted, children can easily throw those away. If it's not in their heart, they don't resonate, or the Spirit of God doesn't work within them, those seeds may just be cast on the ground. But if God has mercy and grace and works in their lives, and that the Holy Spirit comes in and brings those seeds to life, they can be so fruitful. And so as a result, some of my kids enjoyed doing really reaching out into the community. And so by the time that they were older, into their middle school, high school years, they began to want to do things on their own. And so instead of mom and dad initiating, we took a step back, and we basically supported our children as they took steps to lead Bible studies in their community, in the bad neighborhood that we lived in. We supported them. We encouraged them. We let their vision lead, and we just tried to back them up and provide what they needed to make it happen. And so they got to try out some different things. We encouraged them to take steps in different ministries at church, whether it was helping in Sunday school or encouraging my son to sit with the tech team, or different ways, we could encourage them to serve within their own sphere. My daughter tried out videography. So there's many ways that kids can be encouraged to have a heart to reach out to other people, to people in need, and to serve. And I think those are key to laying a foundation. And then when the Holy Spirit comes and moves upon their heart, they've got a broad highway to respond to that with their lives. And I'm so thankful for what God did in this latest mission trip, as I saw my children pray for probably close to 100 people each in Brazil. And I know that that's coming out of just the Spirit lighting fire to the seeds planted in their hearts. And this is also why Christian education is so important, that we have such a job to do. We can't control the outcome, only God can. But we can do so much to prepare them to go to the ends of the earth and to take the gospel and to bring freedom and healing and deliverance and salvation to this broken world. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. And I give all the praise and glory and honor to God for what he's done in our family and what he's doing through my kids in this season. I give him the glory. So be blessed, and I encourage you to follow after me and follow me in these things.